Welcome back to Hotham's Apiary. I'm Jason Hotham, and in this video, I'm going to show you what I do to harvest the honey from the bees. You won't want to miss it. Okay, so there's a couple different things I need to do. The first thing, of course, give the bees some smoke. This honey super is full of bees. The canola flow is pretty much over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this board. This is called an escape board. I'm going to place it between the honey super and the queen excluder. Now this board gives the bees a chance to go back down into the hive. And my experience has showed me that when I use an escape board and I place it on the hive, normally 2 days later, the honey super is bee free. Because what will happen is in the evening or at night when the bees want to go back down towards where the queen is, they will travel through this large hole here. They'll travel through here, and then basically there's like these two little tunnels where the bees will be able to exit out of, but it's like a one-way street. They can't go back up into those two little holes, and all the bees will basically travel down from the honey super back into the brood chamber where the queen is by going through this larger opening. So that is called an escape board, and I'm going to place that right on top of the queen excluder. So let me go ahead and remove this honey super. First of all, I need to crack it open. All right. Wow, that is very heavy. Okay. The weather today is not very nice. It's been rainy, a little bit windy. So a lot of the foragers are actually still in the hive. And a lot of them are up in the honey super. So now I'm going to go ahead and put that honey super back on top. Make sure it's all lined up properly. Okay. So now, as I said, the bees will basically, at night, they will travel down through those two plastic covers, and they'll go down into the brood chamber. They will not be able to come back up, which makes it a lot easier for me to get all these frames out. They will be basically free of bees, or near free of bees. So some people have been asking, how do you know when you can harvest the honey? There's some different things that you can do. The general rule of thumb is, if you look at the frames, that if 1/2 to 2/3 of the frame is capped, then you know that the honey is dry enough. The reason why I say dry enough is because you want to make sure that the honey has a water content that's less than 20%. And the reason for that is in the honey are some natural yeast cultures, I guess you could call them. And the yeast need a certain amount of water in order for them to be active. And once they become active and they have all that nice sugar, then they will basically eat the sugar. And we all know that yeast and sugar, byproduct of that is alcohol. So you'll basically be fermenting the honey. We don't want that. We want to make sure that the honey is not going to be fermented. So the general guideline is less than 20% to be able to sell it as honey. Here in Germany, we have the regulation that says anything that's over 20% can still be consumed, but it cannot be marketed as honey. It has to be marketed as basically baking honey. So honey that you would use as a sugar substitute while baking, or any other type of recipes that would call for honey. But it's not meant for consumption, normal consumption of honey, say on bread or in salad dressings or something like that. So I can check the frames, I can look at the frames and see how they look. That's what I'm going to do right now. And then I will show you also another little trick that you can do that will also help you figure out if the honey is ripe or if it is ready for harvesting. As I said, the weather today is not really the greatest, so a lot of the foragers are still in the hive. I want to have a look here at this frame on the outside because I think if you've seen my videos the past couple of weeks, this frame has been one that they've been building, drawing out, but hasn't been completely drawn out. Let me just take this out slowly. Well, it's drawn out, but it's not, there's only a little bit of nectar. But that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sweep these bees off. I do not want to splatter necessarily any nectar around. So I'll just give these bees a gentle sweep. Most of them are heading back into the hive. Some of them are flying against the window, and then they can escape that way. Now, if I did not put that escape board on the hive, this is what I would have to do on the day when I want to harvest. I'd have to sweep all the bees off. And it's very difficult to do. You can do it, but it's time consuming and you oftentimes don't get all the bees off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attempt to shake this frame and see if any of the nectar falls out. Nope, no nectar is falling out of it, which is kind of a sign that that the honey is dry enough. There's also another tool that I have that I can use to measure the exact water content of the honey. So let me get that really quick. So this tool here is called a refractometer, or refractometer. And basically what I can do with this is I can place some honey on this glass here, and then I can look through, see if I can position this so you can see something. It might not be possible, but let's try it out. You can see inside is like a blue scale. And that blue scale has, on the right hand side, it has the water percentage. So what I can do is I can easily measure how much water is in this nectar that the bees have brought in on this comb. So I'll just take some honey off, spread it on, squeeze it down, and then I'll look through. And this particular honey is 17.5%. I really wish I could get that focus. Let's see. Let's try that again. There you can see. See how the blue... Let me turn it a little bit differently here. I think what's happening is a lot of light is coming through the side. No. This is not so easy. There you can see that the blue line is right between 17 and 18%. So even the nectar that's in these combs and these cells here is actually ready for harvest. So if you can purchase a refractometer, it is very helpful in determining the amount of water that is in your honey. I want to take a look at some of these frames on the inside. The majority of them should be capped off quite nicely. Perhaps the ones on the outside, these two and this one, won't have so much capped honey. Yeah, this is not capped, but I can with confidence say that it is dry. There was some capped on that side. Absolutely nothing in those cells in the bottom. Interesting. The bees are starting to get loud. They are not too thrilled about me poking around in their honey super. Yeah, see, now this is what I meant before. If you have this much capped honey, we're looking at about half of the frame, then it's also ready to be harvested. Okay, so I want to take a look at these outer frames on this side. It's so heavy. Not sure if I'm going to be able to just slide them over. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Now, obviously, since I put the escape board on, then the next 2 days, the bees will not be able to bring any more nectar into the honey super. That is the trade-off. But as I already mentioned, the canola flow has ended. There are still some small patches of dandelion, but nothing that's really going to completely fill this honey super in within 2 days. So I will go ahead and close this up. All right, so the escape board is on, and in 2 days I'll come back, take the honey super off. Hopefully there won't be a whole lot of bees in there. We'll see, and then I can start harvesting the honey. All right, it's been 2 days, so let's take a look and see how many bees are in the honey super. There's still a few in there, so I'll have to go ahead and sweep those off. But looks pretty good. They are not thrilled. I don't really want to use smoke because I don't want to get that smoke in the honey that I'm about to extract. This escape board really does work well. And like I've said before, normally 2 days is enough to get the majority of the bees out of here. Okay. It's been raining the last couple of days, so I didn't miss out on the bees bringing in any more nectar. Yeah, some of these frames are pretty empty. Oh, that's okay. Yep, quite a few. So let me bang this down on the window side. They can fall down. And they'll all fly back home. Place the cover on here. Because I'm going to give them that box back after I'm done extracting the honey. Let's see, where's the cover? And we'll go extract that honey. All right, so now I'm getting ready to use the extractor. And I just want to show you a little bit of the equipment that I have here first. Basically, there's a little stand here where you can put the frames on so you can easily decap it. Then I have a decapping fork. I have two of them. This little rack you can put the frames on once you've decapped them and you're ready to you're ready to extract the honey. Then we have here my honey extractor, and this is a manual extractor. Basically, you just have to spin this handle here, and it's like a centrifuge. The honey will basically fly to the sides. Then it will roll down here to this opening, and then I will let the honey run through a couple wire mesh filters here to catch some wax or maybe pollen, and then it will flow down into the bucket. So Olivia is taking the caps off with the fork. So is Katie on this side. And you always have to be careful that you don't go too deep into the cells so that the cells don't get all damaged. The bees will repair it, but don't want it to be too deep. Good job. So my son is actually operating the extractor. A little bit faster. So the first bit of honey is slowly flowing out of the extractor, and you can see how the honey is kind of rolling out. It's not really pouring out, it's just kind of rolling and then folding over, and that's also an indication that the honey is really dry. So I've extracted the honey and I'm letting it slowly drip out into the bucket under the extractor. Takes a little while for it all to run through. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this box back on top of the bees. And the bees will basically go inside and they will clean out, they will repair, basically like all of this comb here that got a little damage from the extraction. They'll go in, they'll clean it all out, they'll take all the rest of the honey out, bring it down into the brood chamber, and they'll start repairing this. I'm only going to leave this on for a couple of days, and then I can take it off again. Wow, a lot of bees are in here. A lot of bees. So, as I mentioned, it's been kind of cool and rainy, so there's not a lot of bees out and about. Okay, so the way I do this is I set an empty hive body on top of the queen excluder. Just like that. And then I set the honey super on top of that. And the reason why I use an empty hive body in between is so that the bees will not think that they can start bringing in nectar into this area again. Instead, they have basically a large space in between. They can smell the honey, they can go inside and they can remove the honey, but they basically won't start bringing more nectar in. This is something I normally would do, however, I would normally give them back the honey super, but as I mentioned several times, I plan to make a split from this colony. So within the next few days, actually, probably on Thursday or Friday of this week. Today's Sunday, so and I'm kind of waiting for a little bit nicer weather. Hopefully Thursday or so, the sun is shining and the bees are flying. And in a couple days, I'll just come back and put the escape board back on, and then the bees can go back down into the hive. Just double check that everything is lined up right again. All right, so that's basically the result. It's about 10 kilograms, 22 pounds of honey. And it's a little bit less than what I had hoped for, but it's still pretty good. All right, that's it for this video. If you haven't already done it, please hit subscribe and I'll get new content out to you as soon as possible. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, and have fun beekeeping.